Y'all, we're making fried chicken tenders. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the random web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling something that kids of all ages love. Whether you're 9 or you're 90, you can't deny that everybody loves a fried chicken tender. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb fried chicken tenders. Can it be done? You better believe it. Now, if you're new here, this is what we do. We usually take 2 recipes or 3 recipes that are the most popular low carb and keto recipes online. We make them and test them and determine who is the winner. Today is a little bit different because there are a lot of different ways to make these low carb fried chicken tenders, and that's the difference in ingredients for the breading before we fry them. So I have taken 2 of my favorite options for breading, and we're gonna pit those against one another. I'm gonna tell you now, both of these are winners. So it's not like we're choosing a better and worst. We're just gonna show 2 options that you can choose from home and that I know from trial and error work very well. Now, before we begin, I want to give a huge thank you to Perfect Keto for sponsoring this video. Perfect Keto is one of the most well-respected manufacturers of keto foods and products anywhere. The quality of their ingredients is second to none. From their grass-fed dairy to their MCT oil, all of it is top-notch. Now, you know that I often mention, and in some of my recipes, use the Perfect Keto Whey protein powder. Yes, this is a supplement, right? It can be used as, you can add it to your coffee, you can add it to a smoothie, whatever you want to do to up your protein intake. But what I use it for most often is a substitute for wheat flour in low-carb baked goods and keto baked goods. It's so light and delicate and fluffy, it really mimics flour and can give a lift to a lot of baked goods instead of just using almond flour or coconut flour. Well, guess what it's going to do for chicken fingers? Exactly. It's going to give a delicate, beautiful, crunchy crust on that fried chicken. Now, you always can use my code Highfalutin15. There'll be a link down here on the screen. You can always use that code to get 15% off of a product. But right now, for a limited time, Perfect Keto is offering you guys buy 2, get 1 free on the whey protein. Now, they have flavors, and I like the flavors, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're investing in this, I personally think the unflavored is the way to go. If you're going to be using it like this in recipes, the unflavored lets you use it in savory recipes and in sweet goods, right? So you have the versatility there. So I want to thank Perfect Keto for sponsoring this video. It's sponsorships like yours that keep channels like mine on the air, especially during times like this. So if you guys want to support me, please go and support them for providing to this low carb and keto community some fantastic products. Use the link down here on the screen and the code down below for a limited time to buy 2, get 1 free on the whey protein. So thank you, Perfect Keto, for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. Now, let's make some fried chicken. Come on. All right, so let's get started making these low carb fried chicken tenders. They're normally, you know, if you're here any length of time, I will list the recipes here on the bottom of the screen so you can go find the recipes and make them yourself. But these are, I guess, both my recipes, and I put air quotes because this is really a technique. This is just a dredging of flour and frying. This isn't a recipe. I will give you some guidelines of what I like. But it's really for you to make and season the way you like. But what we're doing here today are 2 breading options. And the first of those, like I mentioned, is the whey protein, right? So this is going to be one of the options. It gets a nice, flavorful, crunchy, crispy, delicate crust. And the second option is what many people use, and that's fried pork rinds, right? So ground pork rinds. And a lot of people, for various reasons, whether it's just preference, a lot of people think they just stink. If you've ever opened a bag of pork rinds and stuck your nose in it, you know they have a little bit of an odor. But they are delicious and crispy, but a lot of people have religious reasons or just personal reasons that they don't want to eat pork. So that's why we're doing 2 different options today. And so we're going to start by making the dredge of what we're going to be making. So the first of those, let's just go ahead with the whey protein. This is the unflavored whey protein. And we're going to put, this is for about a pound of chicken, okay? A full pound of chicken. You're just going to put, so it comes with a little scoop. and most of your whey protein, whatever brand you buy, if it's not Perfect Keto, it's going to come with a similar size scoop. You're going to put 3 scoops of this for a full pound of chicken tenders. Okay? And to that, we're going to add a crucial ingredient in both of these recipes, and that is a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And yeah, you can use the grated, you can certainly fresh grate some Parmesan, but I think it's a waste of good Parmesan. This, and I find what works best in this recipe, is just the powdered stuff in the green can. I know that is like, if you're an Italian, you're like, oh Lord, Wesley, what are you doing to us? Do not use green can Parmesan cheese, but it works fantastic with this because it's in the texture of a flour already. Now, to that, we're going to add some basic seasonings before we start to mix this up. And I'm going to use, for me, what I prefer. And make this your own. If you like Cajun seasoning, use Cajun seasoning. If you like Mexican seasoning, use something that's like an Arizona seasoning from Pinzy's. But what I prefer is a little bit of salt, and this is a half teaspoon of each. Okay, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and a little pinch of red pepper, cayenne pepper, just a pinch. Just to give a little bit of zest. So that's a half teaspoon of each if you're making a pound of chicken fingers. So throw this in, and again, make this your own. What is your family like? Use that. So just give this a quick mix, and you're going to want to bust up you don't have to sift this. You know I like to sift and tell y'all to sift, but for this you don't really have to. Just make sure you break up the larger chunks, especially of that Parmesan cheese. So get this mixed together, and then we're going to move to our second dredge, and that's going to be the pork rinds. Okay, so let's swap this out, and it's truly the same thing. Okay, instead of the whey protein, I've already taken the liberty of grinding about a cup of pork rind, cup measure after they're ground. It wound up being almost a whole bag of pork rinds. So in that goes, and I admit this is some crispy, crunchy, good stuff. A lot of people do not like pork rinds, even though when you cook with it, you really can't tell. I can smell it from here. Okay, so here again is a third a cup. Both of these were a third a cup of the grated Parmesan cheese. So a cup of your main flour dredge and a third of a cup of the powdered Kraft Parmesan cheese, right? Throw that in there. The same exact thing with the seasonings, except I lowered the salt by about half. There's a half teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, paprika, a little pinch of red cayenne, and that is about a quarter teaspoon of salt, because guess what? Pork rinds have salt on them already, so you don't want to get this too salty. So just be careful with that. Look at your sodium intake on the pork rinds to see how much sodium's in there. And then again, let's just mix this all together. I'd like to do this. You want something that's kind of wide, right? Because this gets messy. Because what we're going to do, obviously, is dip this in dip this in eggs, and then dredge it through this stuff here. And it kind of gets difficult to do. I find a pie plate, a little glass or metal pie plate, is the easiest way to do this, or a shallow, if you've got a little plate with a lip on it with a little bit of an edge. That works well too. Okay, so now, before we get to this, you think I'm going to take some raw chicken. Let me get the chicken, hold on. All right, so here is our pound of chicken tenders, and in the state of our local grocery store, they do not have any pre-packaged, pre-cut chicken tenders. Which granted are much more expensive than just chicken breasts generally. So I just bought a package of chicken breasts and cut them into tender-sized shapes, things that you would think a chicken tender would look like. So you think that I'm going to just dip this in this egg mixture and then do this and then into the oil, but I have a secret step here. Before we begin, we've got 2 eggs here, obviously, right? We're going to add 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream or almond milk or something just to give this a little more liquidity so that this helps adhere all that beautiful breading onto our chicken tenders. So just quickly mix that up. Now, here is our sort of secret ingredient and weapon, I guess you could say. If you were doing this in the world of wheat, where we're using wheat flour and breadcrumbs, generally what would happen is you would take your chicken, you would dip it in wheat flour and knock it off, then into the egg wash, then into your breadcrumb mixture, and then into the hot oil. But obviously we can't do that. And most recipes online that I've seen for low-carb chicken fingers just go straight to the egg, raw chicken into the egg, into your breadcrumb substitute, whatever that's going to be. Could be almond flour, coconut flour, or bread, what are these? Pork rinds. And then into the oil. But I was talking to my friend Misty, good friend Misty at Home. Her channel is At Home with Misty. I'm going to leave a link up here. I love her. We've known her for several years now. And we talk all the time. And she told me about her little secret. Instead of flour on the initial dredge, use oat fiber. Now, it's so light and delicate and fluffy. It's a perfect substitute for the flour. You can dip it in here, into the oat fiber, knock it off, go straight into there, into the egg wash, and it makes a delicious chicken finger, and it makes the batter adhere to the chicken better than just the egg, in my opinion. So I'm going to leave a link below to where you can get this. It is not oat flour. Do not make that mistake. Oat flour is totally different. This is oat fiber. It has 0 net carbs. It is just the fiber extracted from oats. And I've used it in my biscuit battle. Cooking Keto with Christy won that. Her biscuits are beautiful and delicate and flaky and fluffy, and it's because of the oat fiber. I'm going to put a link up here. I'll put a link description in the bottom. Amazon sells it. It's like 11 or 12 bucks for a bag, and it'll last you forever. But if you use netrition.com, at least I know they service the United States, maybe Canada, netrition.com. I have no affiliation at all, but this is like $5 there. The same exact product, and I'm telling you a bag will last you a year or 2 because you use so little of it, but it makes a big difference in baked goods. So I'm going to heat up some oil. Specifically, we're going to use some avocado oil. Let me get this going here. Hold on. And I'm going to use a small skillet. You're going to use, I'm just going to cook a few, so I'm using a very small skillet, but I think this is also because, avocado oil is not cheap, but it has a very high smoke point, which means your oil is going to last longer, and it's also not going to oxidize and turn unhealthy. A lot of people, it was very popular. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I used to love watching Mario Batali. He was just very informative the way he presented his stuff, and his food was always great. Well, if you ever notice, he would deep fry in olive oil. Olive oil has an extremely low smoke point. And when you go beyond the smoke point of oil, you are changing the chemical structure of the oil, and that is dangerously bad for the body. So, yeah, it probably tasted good to deep fry stuff in olive oil, but it was not the healthiest or wisest thing to do because the smoke point's just not high enough to deal with it. So what I'm getting at is use an avocado oil. You can use coconut oil. You can use lard, would be great. You can use butter or ghee. Today I'm using avocado oil because that's what I have on hand, and I generally like it. It has no flavor and it makes for beautiful fried goods. So all right, so from here, we are just going to let this heat up. I'm going to get a thermometer. We want this to be about 325 to 350 and kind of keep it at that level. And we're going to slowly fry some of these chicken fingers and see where we get. All right, so let's let this heat up, and I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. All right, so our oil has heated, and again, this is a very small, little, probably 8-inch skillet. I'm going to use a thermometer here. You want it about 330, 350. We're actually a little bit hot, so that's okay. So we're going to go through this process with a couple of these. I'm not going to make all of them here for you, but let's start with this. I'm going to take it now too. If you like it in an air fryer, you can absolutely do it in an air fryer. I'll give you some tips on that in a minute. So before this oil gets too hot, make sure your egg wash is ready to go. Also, add a little bit of salt to your oat fiber. You got salt in your dredge, but you also want some salt in that as well. And so without using your fingers, I just am weird about raw chicken. I just use a fork. And this goes to the oat fiber. And do you see how lightly and delicately that is coating that? Can you see that? It looks like flour, doesn't it? So throw this in some egg, right? And it almost repels the egg mixture like flour would. And this little extra step helps all of this stay on so much better. And then from there, let the excess drip off, go into your breadcrumbs, quote unquote. This is our pork rind version here. And just make sure it's well coated. If you do this with your fingers, which a lot of people do, or a tong, you wind up with just a big old batter finger, and I hate that. So this guy is going to go carefully. Drop this in your oil. And well, ain't nothing better sound than that, is that? I mean, are you kidding me? That sounds so good. I'm going to do one with the whey protein to cook alongside that. That's kind of small. Here's another big one. All right, and when you're frying this, you obviously want to make sure they don't touch in the oil. I'm going to bump this up a little bit. Could have been a little tidge hotter, because in a small pan of oil, obviously this cold chicken, because it's been refrigerated, brings the temperature way down pretty quickly. So you just keep a watch on your temperature. Now, get this in the egg. Drain it off. And this is our whey protein powder. And this is a very delicate, light batter. I'm saying batter, it's a breading. This is great on fish too. I'm telling you right now, fried fish, fish fingers, fish sticks. So this only, let me wash my hands, hold on. Okay, this only takes about 3 or 4 minutes per side, depending on how, obviously how large the chicken finger is, how hot your oil is, and how deep you can get it into the oil. If you're shallow frying like this and it's not fully submerged, which with the cost of healthy oils, this is the way to do it. Just make sure it's not sticking. Just gently wag it a little bit. And let this do its thing. Every now and then I'll take an instant read thermometer and just check the oil temperature. It went down considerably. It's at about 315. Don't touch the bottom of the pan. Just let it submerge in the oil. So yeah, we're looking good. Let's go heat back up. And we're just gonna let this cook 3 minutes on each side, and I'm gonna speed that up. Oh, so like if you're gonna cook this in an air fryer, which is absolutely doable, you're gonna cook them for about 14 minutes at about 360, 370 degrees. The last 2 minutes, I'll bump it up to 400 degrees just to get the extra browning on the bottom, on the piece. It's best to spray it with a little bit of oil to get it extra crispy. You're going to use an oil spray. I use an avocado oil spray. You can use a ghee spray, butter spray. They spray the pan, the basket for your air fryer. Put your chicken in and then spray the top of the chicken. It really, really adds the crispiness. I do prefer it fried in oil. I mean, don't we all? But I would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, if the fried ones were a 10, the ones in the air fryer are probably an 8. Just make sure you have plenty of space. Even in this, I probably have room for one more chicken tender in here, but don't overcrowd it. The closer you get them, they're just going to steam and steam each other. and it's not going to be, the batter's going to fall off. It's going to be a mess. So anyway, air fryer works great. I'm always checking the temperature. This is instant read thermometer. It's a Thermopin, because I know everybody's going to ask, what's that purple thermometer? It's a Thermopin. I got it several years ago based on the America's Test Kitchen recommendations. It is expensive. It is $100 for that thing, but it is the only one you will ever need. It is laboratory accurate and instantaneous. It is a fantastic little gift to yourself if you like gadgets. And I had been through several cheaper ones, and I love my Thermopin. It was a splurge. Oh well. So let this go. Keep going for about 3 minutes, 6 minutes total. So now it's been about 5 minutes, and here's where you want to start actually checking the temperature of the chicken itself. So I'm going to flip it over one more time. And most importantly, whatever utensils you are using to dredge and get your, like if you're going to use tongs or a fork or whatever you're using to do this portion with, do not use it to retrieve and tend your hot, fresh food. That is cross-contamination nightmare. You will not have a good time, I assure you. So be sure that whatever you're using here on the fully cooked chicken only touches the fully cooked chicken. Do not use this to now go in to some raw chicken and dredge it and put it in here and take, please don't, please don't do that. Surely I don't have to say that. So these just need a couple more minutes. A couple more seconds. We're at 145. I'm at 156. So I'm getting ready to take these out of here. We put this first one in first. So now, here is my other, I guess you could say, secret weapon. And that is when you take these out of the grease, even if it's in your air fryer, what does everybody do? They go and put it on a plate that's got paper towels in it. I'm guilty of it myself. Please don't do that. Put it on a rack. Put it on a baking rack. You can put paper towels underneath the rack. But if you go into a commercial kitchen, don't nobody fry something good and lay it on a piece of paper towel, because yeah, it pulls some of the moisture away, but not enough. It pulls the grease away, but it sits on itself and steams. And that's why when you get stuff or you cook stuff, the batter falls off of it. Put it in a baking pan. Take a baking pan. You don't have to put paper towels on the bottom, but I do. And put your rack on here, and whatever is done and hot and fresh, turn them one more time. Lay them on this. This one's ready to come up. And it is going to properly drain. There's airflow and circulation around it. It's not sitting in its own juices and steaming itself. Like I said, go to a commercial kitchen. Go to someplace that you like their fried food and look at it. They're frying it in a basket, and the basket comes out of the oil and sits over the oil and drips. And that's how it cools. They don't put it on a paper towel and let it steam itself to death. So, I'm going to quickly show you these. These are so hot you'd scald your head off. But look how freaking crispy and gorgeous they are. This is our pork rind guy. This is our whey protein guy. And we are going to let them drain and cool. I'm going to go ahead and finish up a few more of these, and we're going to come back and taste them. Like I said, both of these are great. I know they are. So it's not like there's a winner. It's just two great options. But I'm going to finish this up and do a few of these. I'll have them ready to go, and then we'll be back here and taste in just a second, okay? All right, guys, so we are back, and I have fried most of my chicken fingers, and look at that. Look how freaking beautiful they are. Okay, this is the pork rind option, and this is the whey protein powder option. And I'm going to tell you that if you're like most of us and you're cooking maybe for a family or more than one person, you're going to need to do this in stages, right? In batches, especially if you're using expensive oil in a smaller pot. Put your oven on low, the lowest setting it's got. Usually that's 200. And then when you take up one batch, put your pan with your rack in the oven and it'll keep it warm, and it won't overcook it. It'll just keep it at temp, and you still get the benefit of having all this crispy stuff. If this were sitting on a piece of paper towel, by the end of cooking a pound of these, the bottoms would be soggy. Trust me, I know. So, for those of you that are asking about, well, what about almond flour and coconut flour? I'll be honest, I've done all of those, and I like them. These two options are the best to me. The pork rind does not taste like pork rinds. It does not. I know a lot of people do not want to eat pork rinds, and that's fine. That's why the whey protein is an option. And if you're at least, well, I know KFC is worldwide these days. The easiest way for me to say the difference between these, if you're familiar with Kentucky Fried Chicken or KFC, the pork rind option is like the extra crispy, and the whey protein powder is the equivalent of their original recipe. So that's the way I kind of describe it. So let's try one of these of each. These are the ones we first brought out, and there's the original recipe, I guess you could say, and the extra crispy. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh, those are so beautiful. So obviously you can dip these, you can toss them in buffalo sauce, or you can just I hope you can hear it. I hope you can hear it. Finger licking good, right? Y'all, that is as good or better than any restaurant chicken tender I've had. It's certainly not frozen, which is what you're going to get in most restaurants. It's a frozen, pre-breaded. Okay, here's our original recipe. Guy, I guess you could say. This is the whey protein powder. It's so good. I bit my lip. Ow. Wow. All right, guys, other than my chicken-related lip injury, there you have it. Low-carb fried chicken fingers, chicken tenders. Can it be done? You better doggone believe it. And I think we did a fantastic job of it. So try these. Let me know what you think about it. If you have a breading or coating or fry breading option that you really like that I didn't cover here today, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. I think both of these are great on chicken and on fish. If you like fish fingers or fried catfish, these are fantastic. So I really appreciate that you have come along for the journey. You know, I say this every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking into the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. I struggle just like everybody else, but I hope that these bring a little bit of joy to you. These videos and these chicken fingers bring a little bit of joy to you, because they certainly do to me. So thank you for coming along. If you are new here, excuse me, if you are new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. It lets you, and also the bell button. It lets you know as soon as I've released a new video. I have had multiple people daily tell me, if you are already a subscriber, guys, and your friends here at the Highfalutin Low Carb, go look and see if you are still subscribed. People are telling me daily that I've always been subscribed to you for 3 years, and now suddenly I'm not. Sometimes you have to toggle it, press it, unsubscribe, and then resubscribe. The same with the bell button. If you're not getting notifications of when I release videos, turn the notifications off, click it again, and turn them on. Somehow that, I don't know, it's like just reboots or something. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but I'm getting messages every day. I used to be subscribed to you and I love your channel, and I'm not getting your videos anymore, so be sure to do that. I want to thank again my sponsor, Perfect Keto, for sponsoring this video. It means a tremendous amount, especially during this crazy time. As you know, this is May 2020. Hopefully in a few years we're going to look back on this and remember what this time was and what it meant and what we gained from it and who all we lost from it. But my point is, in a time when so many businesses are retracting and pulling back, I want to thank Perfect Keto for continuing to push through and sponsor creators like me to bring you these videos. Without them, this would not be possible. So be sure to use the link down below. Again, always you can use my code Highfalutin15 to get 15% off of their products. But right now, for a limited time, you can get buy two, get one free on the whey protein powders. You can get buy two, get one free. So be sure you use that link in the code down below. Also, I want to thank my Patreon sponsors. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it like the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me are doing here on YouTube, and you can give me $1 or $2 a month just to sort of keep things on the track. And there's lots of original content over there, and I do some other things over there that you might want to check out. I'm going to list all of my Patreon sponsors here on the screen, and I thank them. Without them, truly this channel could not continue. So thank you all so much. I love each and every one of you. I will be back in the next few weeks with another video. I love you.